Title: The Man Who Sold the Eiffel Tower. Twice imagine waking up one morning and hearing that someone had sold the Eiffel Tower. Not a small souvenir, not a picture, the actual Eiffel Tower. It sounds impossible. Yet, in the 1920s, a clever con artist convinced wealthy businessmen that he had the authority to sell one of the most famous landmarks in the world. And somehow, he didn't do it once. He did it twice. My name is Kai, and today we're exploring one of the greatest scams ever pulled off in history.
Imagine receiving an invitation from the French government. The letter looks official. The paper is high quality. The signature appears genuine, and the message says something unbelievable. The Eiffel Tower is about to be sold. Most people would laugh and throw the letter away, but in 1925, several wealthy businessmen did not laugh. They believed every word, and that belief would make one man rich. His name was Victor Lustig. Today, many historians consider him one of the greatest con artists who ever lived. Victor was intelligent, charming, confident, and incredibly persuasive. He understood something that most criminals never learn. People are easier to deceive when they want to believe the story. In the early 1920s, the Eiffel Tower was already one of the most famous structures in the world. Millions admired it. Tourists visited it. Photographs of it appeared everywhere. But there was a problem. Maintaining the tower was expensive. Newspapers occasionally discussed the high costs of repairs and maintenance. Victor noticed those articles, and suddenly an idea appeared in his mind. What if he could convince someone that the government wanted to get rid of the tower? What if he could convince wealthy businessmen that the Eiffel Tower was secretly being sold as scrap metal? It sounded ridiculous, which is exactly why it was brilliant. Victor carefully prepared his plan. He created official-looking government documents. He prepared fake letters. He practiced his story until every detail sounded believable. Then he selected several wealthy scrap metal dealers. These men were successful, experienced, and eager to make a fortune. Each of them received a formal invitation. The letter instructed them to attend a confidential meeting in Paris. The businessmen were curious. Why would the government contact them? Why was the meeting secret? And most importantly, what opportunity was waiting for them? Soon they would find out. But none of them realized they were walking directly into one of the greatest scams in history. The meeting took place in one of the most luxurious hotels in Paris. The businessmen arrived one by one. Some were excited, others were suspicious, but all of them were curious. When they entered the room, they found a well-dressed government official waiting for them. At least, that is what they believed. In reality, the man standing before them was Victor Lustig. He introduced himself as a high-ranking government representative. His appearance was perfect. His confidence was convincing, and his documents looked completely authentic. Victor explained that the French government had a serious problem. The Eiffel Tower had become extremely expensive to maintain. Repairs cost enormous amounts of money. The public loved the tower, but privately, some government officials believed it should be removed. The room became silent. The businessmen could hardly believe what they were hearing. Victor continued, because the matter was politically sensitive, the government wanted everything kept secret. If the public discovered the plan too early, there would be outrage. That was why only a small group of trusted scrap metal dealers had been invited. The businessmen looked at each other. This was not an ordinary business opportunity. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. Victor then revealed the most important part. The Eiffel Tower would be sold for scrap metal. Whoever won the contract could earn a fortune. The businessmen immediately became interested. Some began calculating profits in their heads. Others asked questions about transportation, metal weight, and logistics. Victor had prepared answers for everything. Every detail sounded professional. Every document appeared genuine. Every response increased their confidence. Slowly, the businessmen stopped doubting, and that was exactly what Victor wanted. Among all the businessmen in the room, one man stood out. His name was André Poisson. Unlike some of the others, André was eager to establish himself among Paris's elite businessmen. He wanted respect, he wanted success, and he wanted this deal. Victor noticed that immediately. He could see ambition in André's eyes, and ambition, when mixed with greed, can be dangerous. Victor knew he had found the perfect target. Now all he had to do was convince André that he had a better chance than everyone else. The trap was almost complete. Victor arranged a private meeting with André Poisson, away from the other businessmen, away from curious eyes. During the meeting, Victor changed his approach. He stopped acting like a powerful government official. Instead, he appeared nervous, almost embarrassed. Then he revealed a secret. He explained that government positions did not pay as well as people imagined. He hinted that he expected a personal payment in exchange for helping André win the contract. Today, we would call it a bribe. Ironically, this request made Victor seem even more believable. André thought he was dealing with a corrupt government official, not a con artist. To André, the request felt realistic. Powerful people accepted bribes. That happened all the time. As a result, André's suspicions disappeared. If Victor was asking for a secret payment, he must be genuine. At least that was André's reasoning. Eager to secure the deal, André agreed. Soon afterward, he handed over a large amount of money, both for the supposed Eiffel Tower contract and for Victor's personal fee. Victor accepted the money. He thanked André. He shook his hand, and then he disappeared. At first, André was excited. He believed he had secured one of the most valuable scrap metal contracts in France. But days passed, then more days. No official documents arrived. No government representatives contacted him. No contract was delivered. Slowly, the truth became impossible to ignore. He had been deceived. The Eiffel Tower had never been for sale. The French government knew nothing about the deal. And the man who called himself a government official was nothing more than a brilliant fraud. André was devastated. He had lost a huge amount of money. But something unexpected happened. He was so embarrassed that he refused to report the crime. He did not want newspapers writing about how he had been tricked. He did not want business rivals laughing at him. So he remained silent, and that silence became Victor Lustig's greatest victory. Because if nobody reported the scam, nobody would be looking for him. Victor escaped Paris with the money. His plan had worked perfectly. But what happened next was even more unbelievable. Instead of celebrating his success and moving on, Victor decided to return and try the exact same scam again. Most people would have disappeared forever after pulling off a scam like that. Victor Lustig was not most people. After escaping with the money, he realized something incredible. The authorities were not searching for him. The newspapers were not reporting the crime. His victim had remained silent. That meant Victor still had an opportunity. So he made a shocking decision. He returned to Paris, and he prepared to sell the Eiffel Tower a second time. Using nearly the same strategy, Victor once again created official-looking documents. Once again, he contacted scrap metal dealers. Once again, he claimed the government wanted to secretly dispose of the Eiffel Tower. For a moment, it seemed like history was about to repeat itself. Several businessmen showed interest. Some even began considering offers. But this time, things were different. One of the businessmen became suspicious. The story sounded strange. The secrecy felt unusual. And unlike André Poisson, this businessman decided to investigate further. The more questions he asked, the more inconsistencies he noticed. Eventually, he contacted the authorities. Victor quickly realized that danger was approaching. His second attempt was beginning to collapse. Unlike the first victim, this man was not willing to stay silent. For the first time, Victor's plan was in serious trouble. He knew he had only one option: run immediately. Before police officers could connect the pieces together, before investigators could discover his real identity, before the trap closed around him, Victor gathered what he could and fled Paris once again. This time, he left without collecting another fortune, but he also escaped arrest. For many criminals, that would have been the end of the story. For Victor Lustig, it was only another chapter. Over the following years, he continued carrying out schemes across Europe and America. His reputation among law enforcement slowly grew. Investigators began hearing the same description again and again: a charming man, elegant, polite, intelligent, and incredibly dangerous. Wherever Victor went, deception followed. But even among all his scams, one remained legendary: the story of the man who convinced wealthy businessmen that he could sell the Eiffel Tower. Not once, but twice. And somehow, for a time, people believed him. Eventually, Victor Lustig's luck began to run out. For years, he conned businessmen, travelers, and wealthy victims in numerous countries. But no con artist can get away with it forever. The authorities continued to investigate his activities. His name became increasingly familiar to law enforcement. Eventually, Victor was arrested for other crimes and sentenced to prison. His career as a master con artist came to an end. Yet, decades later, people still remember him for one incredible reason. He managed to convince successful businessmen that one of the world's most famous landmarks was secretly up for sale. The story sounds absurd. In fact, it seems so absurd that many people think it's a work of fiction. But it did happen. The most fascinating part of this story isn't the Eiffel Tower. It's human psychology. Victor didn't use magic. He didn't use advanced technology. He simply understood how people think. He knew that greed can blind people. He knew that when people think they've been presented with a rare opportunity, they sometimes stop asking the important questions. This lesson remains relevant today. Many of his victims were experienced business people. They were successful. They were educated, yet they fell for it. Because scams aren't designed to fool fools. They're designed to fool people. So next time an opportunity seems too good to be true, remember the story of the Eiffel Tower. Remember the business people who thought they were about to make a fortune. And remember the man who sold a monument he never owned. Not once, twice.
I'm Kai, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe for more fascinating mysteries, unbelievable facts, and true stories from around the world. Thanks for watching.